What's up, everybody? This is Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're listening to the LCC Network. Go Bucks.
Hey everyone, welcome to Commissioner's Clubhouse and the LCC Network for Week 4 of the 2021 season. And with me today, I have got Jordan Amafale back on the show. What's going on, y'all?
Nothing much. Good to be recording relatively early today.
Yeah, the sun's still out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a nightcap tonight. It's the nice matinee session.
That's right.
Technically, we're the pregame show.
We are.
Go,
This
yeah.
is the LCC pregame show. How cool would that be if we did have a pregame show, though?
Pretty cool if we get people to listen.
Yeah, that's true. I would go ahead and say it. If you haven't listened to the other podcasts, definitely check them out. They said they needed some more views, and I believe it because sometimes it can be a grind getting people to watch our videos sometimes. But definitely worth it if you got Spotify. But I guess we'll keep it short and sweet. We don't have a lot to cover this episode. We're going to do our news and notes from around the league like we always do. And then we're pretty much going to dive into Game of the Week and our other matchups around the LCC. But Jordan, do you want to kick us off with the news?
Sure. You want me to run through it all?
That sounds good.
All right. We're going to start out with the trades this week. We had probably, 4 trades? Maybe. But it all kicked off. Yeah, over the past week. I guess it all kicked off with mine and Colby's trade, which probably got mentioned. I know it did briefly last week's episode, but now on this one, it's official. And that trade was me giving up Jonathan Taylor for Tremaine Edmonds and a 2023 first round pick. And so that's what I'll say. These next trades between who they were, but if you guys could look them up real quick because I'm not quite sure on what the details were.
Yeah, I got you. I'm on it.
Yeah, we had a trade between Zach and Colby.
Yep, and that trade was Colby sending Chase Edmonds to Burrow's body count for Joey Bosa, so a straight-up player swap.
All right, not too bad. And then Zach back at it again with Eddie.
Yeah, so that one, Zach traded away Justin Simmons and a 2023 third to Burrow's body count for to over the
pants hand job.
Over the pants hand job for Jamar Chase in a 2022 fifth.
Yeah, so, that was a pretty big one.
Yeah, that was a big one for sure. I mean, Eddie was big on getting the stack. I was confused there for a second because I forgot who was getting who, but I know. Zach. Zach got the stack, so Zach wanted the Burrow and Chase stack, and he's big on Jamar Chase, and he could be one of the next elite receivers for sure.
Hey, I tell you what, it would have worked out this last Sunday.
Yeah, definitely would have.
And then the last trade that we have is Mr. Patrick himself with Matthew Jiu-Jitsu Jesus, and that trade is actually in the counter phase. So if you want to, you can still go make something shake, but you can go ahead and give us the details on
that. No, for me.
The details are.
Yeah, I could tell the details on that since that was mine. Like I gave up a second round pick for next year, and I got Deion Jones in the process, and I also got a 10th round pick for next year as well. So that was pretty much it. It's not a lot of moving pieces in there. But I don't know, man. For me, my motivation behind it is because I desperately need a linebacker. I mean, I think the most that I've gotten out of any of my starting linebackers has been maybe 28 this season. So I was hurting. I was looking at teams that had depth of linebacker and teams that might want a flex player or a draft pick because I was willing to pay up if I had to. So
yeah, and I really like it because one thing I'll say is, especially with everybody starting to realize now that a lot of guys are going to go back into the draft in 2023. If you're somebody with the core right now that can win, there should be no reason to stop yourself from trading some picks, for players that could really help you push you over the edge. I mean, there's no telling if you're going to be able to get some of these elite players back. And while you have the core in a huge league like this, I feel like you just have to kind of do what you got to do to push yourself over the edge. I mean, I'm not telling everybody to just give up their whole future for some guys, but I think a second round pick next year for a guy who was taken in this year's first round is good value. Helps both teams. So
yeah, pretty much shoot your shot if you think you got a chance.
Yeah.
Destiny shots. Matt knows about that. He knows about some Destiny shots.
Yeah.
That was an inside joke. I hope Matt's listening to this.
And then I get further on the news and notes of the week. Pretty big injury week to some pretty heavy hitters in the fantasy world. Technically it all started with the Thursday night game where Mr. Christian McCaffrey went down, and everybody in the Carolinas' heart stopped, I know, but he'll be out for at least a few weeks. But not only that, you had names like Blake Martinez go down, Jesse Bates, T. Higgins. Poor Titans, real possibility they're missing A.J. Brown and Julio Jones this week. Antonio Gibson has missed some practice, so I believe that gives opportunity to J.D. McKissick. And Marcus May in the Jets secondary, the only guy making any plays on the Jets defense besides Quentin Williams, officially not there. And I actually saw an interesting thing. I believe it was from his agent, but I thought it was weird wording that he would be healthy before the trade deadline. But so that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, a not so subtle hint right there, I think is what.
Yeah.
So, and hey, that makes sense. A lot of teams have been doing that lately. If you have a player that's playing really well and he's at that age where he's in a contract year, he's just starting to get up there, he wants to go to a good team and put himself on the map.
Yeah, definitely.
Even if you play really well, if you're not doing it in big situations, teams don't take notice. They're not looking at fantasy stats like we are. So
yeah,
that's for sure.
Let's see what else we got on the kit. So this week, Daquan tied Storm for the most losses in league history at 75. So sorry about that luck, Daquan.
So technically now one away from breaking the record.
That's right.
And then interestingly enough, another tie with Storm's franchise. Matt has tied Storm for the most conference losses in league history with a whopping 65. Keep it moving. Cody in the Steel Curtain is currently tied for our second longest multi-losing streak in league history. He's lost 9 straight, and the record's 11, so he could potentially have that tied by week 5, or what is it, week 5 or 6? So pretty interesting. I know he doesn't want to take that. I think he could, but I think it's something he's going to strongly try to avoid.
I think he'll avoid it. I think he gets, we'll get into that, but I think he avoids it. We got faith in him.
Yeah. And Cameron and the Spurs, his winning streak gets derailed by his old rival and renewed rival, Will. And I'm sure I know he didn't take that too good, especially going into the Monday game with a heck of a chance and pretty much made the wrong call on his starting roster.
Yeah, and the Twitter world got to take in on it too. I saw he tweeted both his how he replaced him and everything. So
yeah,
really made it public too how he dropped the ball on that. But had to come to an end at some time, and still plenty of time to make the playoffs, which is
And this one was mentioned on last week's episode, but only 4 teams have ever started 0-3 in LCC history and still made the playoffs, which were the 2020 Spurs, 2018 Buck Your Mother, 2017 Gimme More, and 2014 Finkel is Einhorn.
Do you remember who that was, Jordan? We were talking about this last week, and neither of us could remember.
Yeah, I'm blanking on his name, man, but he was a coworker of Matt's. So he worked at the martial arts school. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. Probably indication he wasn't a very good player. But
no one can remember this guy's name.
Those are the only 4 to do it. And do we have just for reference, do we have the teams that did start 0-3 to make that reference relatable again? Relevant?
Oh, so yeah, this week's 0-3 teams currently are Cody, who was definitely the surprise 0-3 team, I would say.
Yeah.
Eddie, 0-3 over the pants hand job. Myself, unfortunately, Mufasa Moneymakers. John, New Orleans Voodoo is 0-3. And lastly, Mr. Nuge, Eastside Brawlers also is 0-3.
Okay, so what was that? 5 teams that are 0-3 or 4?
That was 5.
Okay, 5. So hopefully we'll see if one of those 5 teams can join the 4 that I have just mentioned to be the ones that made a playoff run.
And by the
we may
way,
talk
Too Girly,
about
or
that.
listen to me, Over the Pants hand job is actually going to be 2 girls and 1 cup.
Oh, I should have known that. Yep, I forgot about that whole situation on the app. Still is what I'm just going with what I'm seeing on the app right now.
Yeah.
So that's what's
all right.
Sorry about that, Eddie. Yep, I forgot. It's like the whole Redskins watching the football
That's
team.
right. We're gonna be tripping over this for a while.
Yeah, we got to get this right here.
And just going along with the 0-3 talk, those 5 trying to become one of the 5th team to make playoffs. But just for reference, I believe we said Jameson is the one that started off the season the worst at 0-5 in 2017 and still somehow made the playoffs. That division must have just been a dust bucket, but it's interesting. But that pretty much concludes news and notes. I think before the show started, me and Mufali mentioned a couple acquisitions like Richard Sherman going to the Buccaneers, C.J. Henderson going to the Panthers. I guess those are slight IDP moves, but nothing that I'm interested in. So go do your research on that if you want. Big names, but not a lot of fantasy relevance in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's big to talk about because there was the whole group chat thing going on with corners versus safety. So
yeah, that's true. And there you go, 2 corners on the market that somebody wants to take a shot on.
Yeah, if your team CB, get out there and grab them.
That's right.
Yeah, and that concludes our news and notes for the episode.
All right. Well, cool beans. We got our LCC game of the week coming up here next, on our following segment here. And I think it's pretty obvious, at least within the LCC itself, but it's Detroit Bad Boys versus Beg for G-Reg, the Billy Bowl, as we're calling it. I forgot what... hang on. I'm going to pull it out. That way we know what number this is for the Billy Bowl. Just saying that makes me chuckle a little bit. Let's see. This is going to be Billy Bowl... let's see. Billy Bowl 5. That's what it is. Billy Bowl 5.
All right.
BB5. That's what we're calling it.
Yep, and this is the tiebreaker.
The right to be called Billy the rest of the season.
That's right. The other one, what should we call the loser of the Billy Bowl until they play each other again?
I don't know. William.
Well, we already got a Will.
He's Will.
He's Will, so name the Will. All right.
We'll just say, hey, you.
Hey, you.
Guy. We'll just call him Guy. Hey, Guy. That's the loser. We're going to refer to them as Guy or Billy's bitch until the next game.
Somebody can become Little Bill.
Little Bill. That's what we're going to call him, Little Bill. I actually like that better. All right. Anyway, so Billy Bowl 5, or BB5 as some are calling it. No one's really calling it that but me. This is the 5th time, obviously, that they're playing each other. They're currently split 2-2 overall. The last time Detroit Bad Boys won was Week 10 of 2020. But most recently, and the one that stings the most for Detroit Bad Boys at least, Beg for G-Rag won. And I'm not going to call either of them by their names because it's just going to make it way too confusing for everyone. So I'm just going to refer to them as their team names, by the way, for this segment. But the last time they played was in the divisional round where Beg for G-Rag defeated Detroit Bad Boys 203-198. And literally, I mean, a stat change away from the opposite ending where Detroit Bad Boys wins. So a very good game. In fact, that was the second time they played each other in the playoffs. The first time was wildcard weekend 2019 where Detroit Bad Boys won 318-253 in a beatdown. So there's a lot on the line here. Both Beg for G-Rag is coming off a stat change win. But, I mean, he'd already won technically because they were tied in our league. Tiebreakers are decided by bench points. And if for bench points are tied, then it goes to whoever the home team is, which is why we try to make sure everyone has as close to an even amount of home games versus away games, but now the 13-week season, that's totally impossible. But anyways, winner of this is without a doubt in first place in the division. I think, now that I think about it, I think Detroit Bad Boys may be trailing in points for the season, so it could still be Beg for G-Rag if there's like a three-way tie somehow. I'll have to take a look later. But anyways, you get the point. This game matters for divisional play. This matters for the wild card later on. For bragging rights, no one wants to be called Little Bill. That's disrespectful to all the Bills and Billies of the world. And this is a big game. What are your guys' thoughts on it?
You can lead off, or
go ahead, Jordan.
All right. Yeah, I think there's a pretty good matchup. Literally, the only matchup that I don't like across the board is Peyton Barber going against the Chargers. But you got to do what you got to do when Christian McCaffrey goes down, like we mentioned earlier. But overall, I like Detroit's matchups. I don't think San Francisco is a pretty good defense, but I don't think they're as good as they were supposed to be. And I think someone like Russell could put up some points. But in this, I would probably lean Beg for G-Reg just off of not having McCaffrey. And for him, I see he's got Dalvin out too. I would honestly think about starting Chuba, even though I think he can win it with Zach Moss. But if it comes down to a close battle, I think he might prefer Chuba in there just with the workload that both of them are going to see.
Yeah, and by the way, the graphics here for the lineups are not 100% accurate. These were done yesterday for the waiver wire. So it is a little bit different at the moment if you're on the app and actually looking at who they're starting. For those that are looking at this right now, because Peyton Barber is now in instead of Philip Lindsay, which is on this everyone's screen right now is, the running back, but it's actually Peyton Barber, which is a lot better, obviously.
Yes.
Well, that's very dependent on if Josh Jacobs plays. So
yeah, that too.
If Josh Jacobs plays, then Peyton Barber could be irrelevant because he really just taken over his role. I don't know who will be the clear backup now, if it'll be him or Drake, but they paid Drake a bunch of money, so I don't really see how they're not going to use him, but we'll have to see how that pans out, but that'll be huge. But in terms of like the rest of the matchup, it is really close. I mean, this is the reason that this was the matchup of the week. It could come down to deciding this their division because it's going to be really close. They have three really good teams in that division. I really like Devin White this week against the Patriots. I think he's going to have a huge week. I think he can have some turnovers. I think he's just going to force the issue. I have a feeling about that. So, and then, I think Dalvin Cook's going to play this week from what I'm hearing. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dalvin Cook ends up in his lineup, obviously. But if not, I think any of his running backs are a better option right now than Peyton Barber. I mean, if Josh Jacobs doesn't play, then maybe that's different. But I've been hearing, too, that Jacobs is likely to, get in this week. So, but I'm going to have to lean with Beg for G-Reg in this one as well. I just really like, Kirk Cousins this week. I think he'll have a solid matchup against the Browns. I know they had a huge week last week with all the sacks, but, kind of like with Chandler Jones when he had the 5 and then the next week nothing. Like I could see the same thing for Myles Garrett this week, So there could be a quiet day on defense for them and could be a relatively high-scoring game there between those two offenses. And especially or if they, pound it with Dalvin Cook, that'll be double good for him because he's gonna have both of them. So I'm gonna lean with Beg for G-Reg though in a close one.
Okay. A couple fun facts I forgot to mention earlier was that one, Beg for G-Reg saw their best season in franchise history just last year at 8-4. Detroit Bad Boys before week 2 hadn't lost a regular season game since week 8 of 2020, which is pretty remarkable, really. And then Detroit Bad Boys has outscored Beg for G-Reg in the postseason 516 to 456. In the regular season, he's outscored him 371 to 346. So very close on both sides there. I'm kind of like you guys, honestly, when I really look at the matchups between them. I like Beg for G-Reg a lot, but part of it's like if Dalvin Cook is in the mix, it's a game changer. I think he can easily win this game. I'm not too crazy about Kenny Moore playing against the Dolphins. Like, they don't even have a true wide receiver 1. If you go and look at Kenny Moore's matchups past 3 weeks, I mean, he's had Seattle, 2 great receivers. He was always on someone. The Rams, 2 great receivers. He's always on someone good who's getting targets. And then in Tennessee, kind of the same deal. I just really think this is a terrible matchup for Kenny Moore. I think he has a better option probably going with Kendall Fuller even, or Jordan Hicks if he wanted to. I mean, heck, he could even start Chuba Hubbard and Dalvin Cook this week and be off to a great start. I think Beg for G-Reg wins this by a good 20 points.
Big time.
Big time stiff. But yeah, that's our Game of the Week segment. We'll keep it moving on here to our overall matchups across the league. And I guess we can go any direction here, guys, but I guess we'll start it off next and keep it in the division with Abusement Park versus Burrow's Body Count. BBC, as his abbreviation indicates. But, I mean, Burrow's Body Count's on a 2-game losing streak this season. Abusement Park lost last week, first of the season, a very close matchup, like we said earlier. They've only played each other once before, as last year, Week 7, Abusement Park won 168 to 164 in a very close game. Do you guys think this will be close, or do you think it's going to be heavily one-sided?
Man, I think it could stay close depending on what the Bengals look like against the Jaguars. You just feel like the Jaguars are one of the worst teams, and if Brady and his rookie receiver, or Burrow, not Brady, Burrow and his rookie receiver can light them up, he'll be off to a nice start. But overall, I would be a heavy lean for Abusement Park, just off of like his top 3 hitters on offense and a little stronger. I like Burrow's pass rush with Reddick, but I trust the linebackers on the other side a little bit more. And if Justin Reed can be healthy, I think he'll win it by a pretty wide margin, and you'll see Burrow drop his 3rd straight.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the name straight up, I agree. Like, it's definitely Abusement Parks, but I think that the one thing that's in Burrow's Body Count's favor right now is I kind of like some of his matchups this week versus Abusement Park. I'm not so huge. I mean, I know Kyler Murray's had the great start, but he's 0-4 against the Ram, has always pretty much put up bad games against them. Until he proves me otherwise, I don't see him having a great game at the Rams. But, I mean, who knows? He could definitely change. And then I see, Aaron Jones has been limited in practice all week. Pittsburgh possibly has, Watt coming back. So could be a tough matchup from there. I just think it's a tough matchup from overall. I don't even like Cunningham that much this week. Buffalo spreads the ball out a lot. Not a lot of tackles for the linebackers as much. So I just, but I'm going to have to slightly lean Abusement Park just because I don't really like Burrow. Actually, you know what? Nope. I'm going to go Burrow's Body Count. I got to do it. I'm going to go the upset Burrow's Body Count.
All right.
Here we go.
After looking at it twice, I got to go with it.
So there's a couple things, like, again, I'm just basing off how the lineups are right this moment. And for me, I really like Burrow's Body Count's offensive lineup. I think it looks solid. The thing that's tripping me up is John Bostic against the Atlanta Falcons. Their offense is absolutely so vanilla that I would be petrified to start John Bostic, who has not scored more than 24 points all year. This is a terrible matchup. This could actually get worse than 24 points, as we've seen earlier in the year. And it sounds crazy because I know, Zach, he has burnt you so many times this year, but Jeremy Chin, dude, against the Dallas Cowboys is probably the best matchup he will have all year long. I mean, you'd be crazy not to start him this Sunday against Dallas. I think he'd be a great flex player instead of Bolton. Not Bolton, Bostic. You can keep Bolton in there. I'm not crazy about his matchup. I think it'll be a little bit better. Maybe he gets a couple of tackles with the way they're running their offense. But, yeah, I'm going to go Abusement Park here. I think at the moment I just like his lineup a little bit better.
All right. So 2 versus 1, and Steve got Burrows with the upset.
Yeah, that's good.
For
I
what
like
it's
it when
worth.
we don't all agree across the board. Because when we agree across the board, that's when I worry. That's when I've made a bad pick.
According to the website, that would be a pretty heavy upset too, given Burrow's 18% win probability right now.
Ooh.
So
18%.
the website is firmly against the body count.
Yep.
All right.
Same with the Kids of America. So our next up, we're going to do Mr. 300 versus Primetime Players, guys. This is a big rivalry game. I mean, this goes way back all the way to 2010 in our first season ever. Actually, they were both in the league in our inaugural season, but they didn't play each other till 2011, funny enough. But Colby leads the series, Mr. 300 that is, 5-3. They played each other 8 times since 2010. Last time they played it was week 12 of last year in the regular season, where Primetime Players won 276 and 151 in a beatdown. But before that, Daquan hadn't won since the wildcard round of 2018 against Colby. So it's going to be interesting because I think Colby is definitely in a win now type of mode, and Daquan absolutely has to be at 1-2, trailing behind him. Mr. 300's 2-1. So I think that this matchup, I mean, all these matchups mean a lot. They're divisional matchups. No one's more than 3 games ahead of anyone, which means it's still anyone's game, mathematically speaking, maybe not realistically. But I like this matchup because it's a rivalry game. But I'm curious to see, what do you guys like more about one of these teams compared to the other? Because I think, looking at it right now, I like Mr. 300's offense a lot more than I like Primetime Players' offense.
Yeah, man. Honestly, this is a dead heat when I'm looking at it, and it could have easily been picked for game of the week. Just individual matchups across the board. Like when you look at the running backs and the linebackers, and it's pretty impressive. Um, but yeah, I would slightly lean Colby on the offensive end. I think Clyde Edwards could probably outplay Jonathan Taylor at least this week, but I do think this is the week Jonathan Taylor kind of gets rolling against the Dolphin defense, and everything else is pretty even. The only thing I don't like, I usually would say I like Daniel Jones's matchup with the Saints right now, but the only problem is it seems like they don't have a single receiver playing for them right now. So
Yeah.
not only is it already tough for him to throw, especially touchdowns, I just don't know who he's going to be throwing those to this week. I mean, you see he's got Sterling Shepard on his bench. He's just I don't think anybody's practiced all week receiving wise for them. But other than that, man, it is close. But I am gonna give the edge to Colby in this one. Disagreeing with the website, and I would say the player. And I'll say this because me and Colby have been talking about him just like individually for a couple weeks now. I'll say the player that sets him apart is Logan Wilson has another big week against that Jags offense.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I mean, I don't know about nearly as big as last week. I mean, he had 2 interceptions last week. That's,
Yeah.
probably not going to happen again all year. But
Yeah,
I think he's definitely saw a really
that's
good
his
game.
second game with an interception, though. So I get the 2 is a stretch, but he's finding the football.
Oh, yeah, and especially this week against the turnover monster and Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, there you go. Take a Trevor
But
shot.
that's my guy. So I drafted the right to take a shot at him. But I honestly do not like Daquan's matchups at all. I mean, Diggs obviously I think can have a good week, but Daniel Jones at New Orleans, not big on that at all. And same with Clyde Edwards-Helaire at Philly, going to be tough sledding for him. I mean, the one good thing for him is Roquan Davis at Detroit could probably put up some big points, but it's not going to be enough, man. I mean, Dak could be neutralized this week against Carolina. I mean, this will be the biggest test for y'all's defense for sure to really see if the defense is the truth or not,
Yeah.
So excited to see how that game turns out, honestly, but could go either way for Dak. And then just overall, just the rest of his team is so solidly built, I don't see anybody else really having a bad game for him. He just has a really solid roster overall. Even without matchups, it would just be the better roster. So I'm going to definitely, I think by a pretty big margin, it's going to be Colby.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Colby too. I'm not crazy about. I mean, I think Daniel Jones will actually have a good game, but it's only because I think he's going to be running for his life, and he can legitimately have 100 yards rushing, which in our league would be huge, especially from a quarterback. But everywhere else, I just really like Colby. I think Jonathan Taylor has a good game. CEH had a great game last week, but I think that was a fluky thing. I mean, he has yet to prove that he's a top 24 fantasy running back, in my opinion, because of the Chiefs. Nothing against him. It's just the way they run their offense. So for me personally, I'm definitely going to go Colby here. But
all right, clean sweep.
Yep,
clean
sweep. That's not good.
Sorry, Daquan.
So we'll keep it
We
in
love
Conference
you.
A Eastern Division with Jiu-Jitsu Jesus versus the third leg. And did anyone at any point see themselves saying, yeah, the third leg's going to be 3-0 going into week 4, playing against a team who's 1-2. And based off that, that makes Jiu-Jitsu Jesus the underdog. I don't think anyone would have said that.
Me personally, and I hope Charles is listening, I 100% would have said that. I didn't keep trading Charles because I thought he was going to end up being bad. I really thought he had a chance to compete this year, and I kept telling him that. He traded a lot of future picks, but I think he built up his roster with depth. And just, obviously the quarterback issue is the one thing for him, but if Baker plays well, then his team can really fly high. So I kind of wasn't as surprised, but I guess I'll just keep it going here since I'm talking about it now. I'm gonna take him this week as well. I'll just keep it brief that I just like his team overall. Honestly, just to keep it real simple, I just like his team more. And Matt could keep it close. It could be an upset, but in a close one, I'm gonna give it to Charles. Especially because Matt's trading Deion Jones, which I think hurts his lineup, even though he doesn't have him starting right now. I still he would be better off if he was starting him. So I just don't like his linebackers that much.
Yeah, I honestly love what Charles has built. I talk to him a lot over the phone and stuff, and I know he takes pride in what he's done because he has made a lot of moves and things, and I really like where he's at. Probably one of my favorite rosters to make a real run at this. So I'm definitely picking him this week. I just think it's going to be tough sledding for Matt. Like you said, he's not going to have Dion. He's basically got no production at wide receiver this year between missing some good starts from T and then finally starting Allen Robinson and the shit show that is the Chicago Bear offense. Um, so I just think it's going to be really tough on him. Good cornerback, but a cornerback on the starting roster, so that can always be just an instant dud. But I'm gonna go Charles, and I think he could keep having one of the better weeks, overall scoring wise.
Yeah, I agree. I think Charles wins, and I think Matt's trade for the second round pick and not getting a player in return says a little bit of maybe where his mindset is right now. He's got to be a little bit worried about this season. Or maybe he just feels that confident in his linebacker core that he feels he can invest a little bit into next season and play it safe. I'm going Charles too. They've played each other 5 times in the past. Matt's won the past 2. In fact, Charles hasn't won since week 5 of 2019. And Charles is actually 3 games away from tying for the most wins he's ever had in a single season. So this is big for him. This is an opportunity to really change the history of his franchise, to set a new tone going forward. And at 4-0, man, your odds of getting the playoffs jump pretty high. So I think Charles wins this very easily.
Yeah, he'll have some absolutely terrible luck if he doesn't make the playoffs with this team.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully, people are listening because I think this is something that's important that I brought up to Charles. But him and Micah Parsons, how if he moved him to D end, how that would just affect his points because D ends get more points per tackles, and if he's clearly playing D end, I told him it might benefit him if he played him at D end and then just started him. It would be, he's getting pretty good points as a linebacker still, whether the tackles are worth less and you just score, the scoring's a little bit off. So for anybody listening too, if you're in a situation like that where your linebacker is moving around positions, it does benefit to try to get the position change if it's legit,
Yeah.
So always keep that in mind. He said for now he's comfortable, because I did mention it to him. He said he's going to keep him where he is, but it's something interesting that could come big down the end if he has a guy like, Micah Parsons at D end. But I think they're going to free him back up to linebacker, which should happen eventually. But there's something interesting if anybody is hopefully still listening, and it's just something that definitely plays a factor.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Our next matchup, this one between the 2 winless teams in Conference A. We got New Orleans Voodoo versus Mufasa Moneymakers. No history between you guys, so I won't even try to get into that. But this is one team, I feel like, Mufasa, your team is a good 0-3 team. That makes sense. New Orleans Voodoo's team is so banged up and has struggled so bad. And I think he's made some poor decisions when starting his lineup that this is a terrible 0-3 team. I don't even need to dive into it. I'll just go ahead and say, like, I'm going to pick you. I think this is an easy dub.
Yeah, I'm not here to jinx you or anything, Steve, but I'm gonna take you. I'm gonna say not that it's gonna be too hard, but I'll say Trevor has his best day of the year. And really, what sealed it, I looked over at his starting lineup, and my first thought was, "Who the fuck is Tony Jones?" And so I'm gonna go with you because Tony Jones is his starting running back.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is the one week I actually feel pretty confident. I mean, I'd actually like his team more if Josh Jacobs does play, obviously, and he puts in Josh Jacobs. But if not, then yeah, that's a dud. But and Tyreek Hill can always go off. That always scares me too. Like Tyreek Hill is capable of putting up near 100 points. So
Any thought of putting Woods in for Boyd?
no, that's a decision I just made today that I'm done sticking with it.
All right.
Woods has not impressed me at all.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
I think he's going to turn it around, but I think Boyd with T Higgins out again, just too good of a matchup right now. You
Yeah,
know,
kind of show me something from Woods at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, I had to just exactly. So, and that's what Pat like said. I'm a good 0-3 team in my lineup, and I do like it a lot too. But my two guys that have struggled for me the most were John Johnson and Robert Woods. If those two were playing at like the rate they were last year, I'm probably not 0-3. But
yeah,
they both struggled, and I'm just kind of riding it out with them. No need to trade low on them. I'm just kind of hold the.
And a smaller injury we didn't mention is I believe you guys lost James White for the year. You guys is in the
Oh yeah,
Patriots.
the Patriots. Yeah,
So that
yeah,
should increase Damien's stock, no?
No, actually, it increases a lot of other guys behind him. They really showed last week that Bill Belichick has no faith in Damian Harris as the pass blocking back or the pass catching back. We actually played Brandon Bolden a ton of snaps last week. So
you gotta love Bill.
Yeah, Bill is very strict about that stuff, man. If you miss a block, dude, you might as well get warm. He hates it. I mean, a lot of coaches do, obviously most do, but it really, like, he's very specific. Like, if a guy's good at something, he's going to be playing that role. Like, and Damian Harris's role on this team is clearly like the running down, like the running down back. Like, when it's a good running situation, he's going to be in the game. And against Tampa this week, unfortunately, that won't be the case, and he's going to have a dud. But he's my only hope, so I got to have him in my lineup. So, but I'm still going to go with myself. So, just to end this one quick,
all right.
I got to have some confidence in myself for once this week. So, I got to get a win, or else I'll end up breaking that losing streak. So, this is the week. I got to get you, John.
Poor John. He's looking at 0-4, and at that point, it really gets bleak with his team's performance. I guess we'll roll over to Hash Slinging Slashers versus Hunter of Champions. That's a lot of H's in that matchup.
Yeah.
They played each other twice, though, and both came in 2020, where Hash Slinging Slashers took him to the woodshed, man. Week 3, he beat him 229 to 198, and then week 12, he beat him 227 to 170. So both times big wins, but this is a new Hunter of Champions. This Hunter's team this season, man, it is full steam ahead, and one of my favorite teams in Conference A, in my opinion. But I'm sure this game will be relatively close. I mean, one of my favorite pickups this week was Andrew Wingard out of Jacksonville, man. I put a waiver request in, but Armando was a little bit higher in priority, so we got him. So good call on him, man. God, I wanted him so bad.
Yeah. Oh, imagine being the guy that picked up Andrew Wingard and said, "Nah, you know what? I'm gonna go get Kenyon Drake and hope that Kenyon Drake can maybe be a decent backup running back and drop him." Because I like Thursday after or last Wednesday after waivers process. That's the first guy I went and got was Wingard, and I was sitting there. I was like, I'm gonna keep him, and then I was like, I saw somebody drop Drake, and I was like, I kind of need a backup running back, so I was like, I'm gonna give it a shot. And then he was a dud, and so as soon as I saw Wingard went off again, I was like, I'm not getting him. Because I'm sitting with the first overall waiver, so I'm not gonna really spend it yet. I'm gonna hold it, but yeah, great pickup there by Mondo for sure. And I think this is gonna be a really close matchup. And this is definitely the runner-up for game of the week. I mean, this is the only 3-0 matchup of the week, where both teams are 3-0, I believe. I mean, I could be wrong, but this is definitely a loaded matchup. Both teams are really good, but I'm gonna have to lean. This is a really, really tough one, honestly, but I'm going to slightly lean with Armando in this one. I think. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it because I don't even know. It's so close. I'm just gonna pick one, and I'm not. There's not even a reason. It's just like flipping the coin here. They're so close on both sides.
I agree with you. Absolute shootout. I like both the lineups. Of course, what's not to like about 3-0 anyways? A team always looks slightly better when they're winning. But I am gonna roll with Hunter of Champions this week, and I'll say Najee is the difference maker. I watched a lot of that Pittsburgh game last week, and not much going on in that offense, but it's literally right now, Big Ben. When I'm in trouble, I find Najee and just give him a free PPR point and see how far he go. It's almost watching like a rookie version of McCaffrey. Their offense is so stagnant right now; they're just dumping it to him every time. But for fantasy purposes, that's awesome for Hunter, and I'll go with his team this week.
Yeah,
Shootout though.
I agree, man. I'm going Hunter too. I think Najee. This is the new norm for him. It's going to be upper 30s to low 40s, I think, most weeks, especially when we see some of the matchups coming up. I think he's going to eat. And it's not because, I mean, he's a good player, but I think his stat line is going to indicate he's better than he actually is, if that makes any sense. But yeah. I like Najee this week, and I like Hunter Champions. That's who I'm going with. All right, we'll keep it rolling. So we're already 41 minutes in, so but we're also already getting into the Conference B, which is good. That's comforting. So we've got Step Bros Fantasy Company versus Eastside Brawlers. And if you would have told me in the offseason that Eastside Brawlers would be in last place and Step Bros Fantasy Company would barely be in second, meaning that he could have almost been in first if it wasn't for our game, which is very close, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have been, you're crazy. But that's where we are right now. So Eastside Brawlers is trying to get their first win of the regular season. And Step Bros Fantasy Company is trying to claw his way to first place and prove that he is the rookie GM of the year.
Yeah, this is a pretty good game too, just for where they're both at. Matt beat me last week, Step Bros Fantasy Company, so in my opinion, he's already got a good win under his belt. But that's just me not being able to get my stuff together. But anyways, I would probably lean him again just because of some of the heavy hitters he has. Kareem Hunt, that's unbelievable that a backup can put up numbers like that. But he has the potential to do every week just because they use him. He's been having good games from Shaq Thompson. I believe we talked about it off air. Denzel Perriman on his bench is just he's been an absolute unit fantasy wise. Just the numbers keep rolling. So I'm gonna go. Matt McCarson takes this one to go 3-1, and Eastside Brawlers kind of licking his wounds from half his roster getting hurt last week.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too, man. I mean, I wish Matt would get Denzel Perryman in his lineup, but knowing Matt, like Shaq Thompson's not hitting the bench ever. You know, Carolina homer. You know, and
yeah, he's a true Panther guy. I've already reached out for Shaq Thompson, and
Me
it wasn't.
too. I've done it too.
Know, if you're listening to this, guys, and you want a linebacker, I guess go shopping for Matt if you're in on the Denzel Perryman or even Kaiser White train, because Kaiser White has played better than Kenneth Murray this year, who was supposed to be the good fantasy linebacker out of that linebacking core for the Chargers, but it's really been Kaiser White so far. So he's got a lot of depth, and even his wide receivers, man. I mean, Mike Williams having a career year, and Travis Kelce. I mean, I know it's very, very rare in this league since we've done IDP that you see the two wide receivers and the wide receiver is the flex, but Matt's made it work so far this year, and I think he makes it work again, and he goes to 3-1. Even if he doesn't put in Perriman, which I think would be better, but no matter, I think regardless, he gets to win it. Like Eastside Brawlers team's banged up. I think at Dallas, actually, I think that defense is a tougher matchup than people give him credit for. So I think you guys might have a tough time with them. So, and I know this team relies heavily on y'all's offense. So,
yeah, this is definitely our toughest test as a Panther fan.
Yeah, no, if you're a Panthers fan, big exciting game here because on both sides of the ball,
it's the first legit matchup we've had all year. I know people hyped up the New Orleans Saints game, but I had a feeling we were going to win that anyways, even before we got to week 1. But this is a game that as a Panther fan, I'm worried about because of how explosive Dallas offense is, but also how banged up our defense is. But I think that's going to force Sam to have a really good game again. And the thing though that's really going to kill Eastside is Miles Sanders being irrelevant, man. Like we're almost at the point now where you start to say, is he even worth rostering? Because he had 2 carries last year, or not last year, last week, and only 4 targets. So only 6 opportunities to get the ball in his hands. And it was against Dallas, man. And before that he had 15 points. He had 27 against Atlanta, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about Miles Sanders at this point. I think Robbie could have a decent game, but I think he'd be kind of crazy not to go Step Bros Fantasy Company after the way he's been playing.
All right.
All right. We'll go to
306.
Yeah, there we go. Again, not a good thing if I'm someone listening right now.
We're giving quite a few people the kiss of death this week.
We are. Our next matchup, and we can keep this one kind of short and sweet, even though it's a pretty sweet one. Afternoon Delights versus myself. Big rivalry game. Both commissioners going at it. We've played each other since our inaugural season. We even played that year. I know we were both in the league. Obviously, we founded it. But this will be the 12th time we've played since 2010. I won the last time we played, which was in the divisional round of the playoffs. I beat you 221 to 205, but you swept me in the regular season last year. And before that, we hadn't played since 2016, man. So it's been a minute. This is good. I'm glad our rivalry continues again, consistently.
Yeah, man. I'll just go ahead and say I'm going to mop the floor with you just because it's me, you know.
Yeah.
What's really going to get under your skin is when Taylor Heineke has 50.
I
can't wait to get in on Jordan's lineup here.
Yeah, in all seriousness, I'm doing whatever I can to find any production at quarterback. I mean, at this point, I'd go run a couple quarterback draws to try to get a couple points, but geez, it's tough sledding. But I'm not going to pick against myself against you. We're always in for good games, and I'll give you the first blemish on your record.
I would not be surprised. I feel like your team is a lot better than your record indicates. You just had a tough matchup last week, honestly. I feel like we should up the ante, Jordan. Like, loser has to do a cameo of how much better the other person is at everything in life. I think that's what we should do.
Yeah, that's fine. You know.
I don't even know.
We can't. You can't be like ridiculous. I can't come out with lie. You know. I just run so much better than Patrick.
Oh man. No.
Well, let's get the input from the guy that's not involved in this game.
Yeah, no, I'm excited here to put here. So, all this talk about Taylor Heineke, to me, what stands out as of right now, Hunter Renfrow in that wide receiver. Very interesting. I mean, I think that's even more of a stretch than the quarterback. But I think the good thing is I'm hearing Deontay Johnson will be playing this week, so I'd have a feeling that he might end up in the lineup.
Yeah, Renfrow got picked up when both my receivers were questionable.
Yeah, okay, so that makes sense. I don't know if it was just like I get he did have a good week last week. He's been pretty solid for PPR, but Deontay Johnson, you put him in the lineup, and that's going to be a really good week, especially for Heineke at Atlanta. And for Pat, as looking at his lineup now, obviously, as it's looking right now, Deion Jones will be put in there somewhere. So that's going to be very interesting as well. And like both these lineups look great this week. I mean, Amari Cooper could have a big game this week against, your guys' beat up secondary. I mean, I know you guys just traded for Henderson, but who knows how he fills in right away. He was even hurt last week himself. So who knows if that was like one of those real injuries or the ones where like, we're about to trade this guy, let's sit him out, So who knows? But it's going to be a really good matchup, man. I think you guys both have. I mean, I like Jalen Hurts a lot more against Kansas City in what should be a high-scoring game. But Heineke could definitely go out there and put up numbers. So I don't think like you'll hit the floor of 8 that you got from Fields last week, which is the big thing. Much higher floor.
Man, that sucked.
Yeah, that was rough. But yeah, and I think Nick Chubb has a nice little bounce back game this week. I mean, not that he played bad last week, but it looked like Kareem Hunt stole the show last week. So, man, it feels. I guess I got to be put on the spot here and make the pick. But as of right now, I'm going to lean with Jordan to take this one. So I think Deontay Johnson.
In your face.
I think Deontay Johnson in the lineup for me is the big difference maker. He'll have a big game. He always seems to get huge target shares, and I've heard Juju's banged up too now. So
Yeah. Well, you know what? You guys have forced my hand. I wasn't going to resort to this kind of low ball maneuver, but I'm going to give Jordan the kiss of death and say he's winning it.
Oh, you lowballed me.
there you go. Yeah.
No, but in all honesty, I was kind of going to go that way anyways. I think my offense should outscore yours, but I think your defense this year has been fantastic, and I love Brian Burns against Dallas. Campbell should have a big game against Pittsburgh again. And by the way, you're welcome. I am the one who talked you into drafting his ass. So
Yeah, you are. You are. That was
him.
my last pick of the draft, courtesy of Patrick.
Can you believe that shit? This guy fell that far. Oh, I'm so mad. But yeah, anyways, that's where I'm going.
All right. I hope I can make you guys proud.
I hope you don't. Our next matchup, we got Once a Janitor versus the Steel Curtain. Once a Janitor, definitely a dark horse of the league, I feel like. No one kind of saw him as a legit contender. Although Jordan and I drafted a really good team for Michael before when he no-showed the draft. So he did inherit a decent roster. But Steel Curtain, man, no one saw this coming. 0-3 and trails the division by 2 games. A loss this week and a win from the Spurs and Once a Janitor. You got to pretty much say it's all but done at that point.
Yeah, it is. I mean, he's like, this is a huge game for Cody. And unfortunately, I really do like how Once a Janitor is going to be looking this week. I think he has some good matchups, and it's going to be really tough for Cody, and it's going to be a really close game. But not that it's impossible. I mean, we talked about it earlier, how Jameson was 0-5 and, won the division. And I think, he's capable of doing it with his roster. But I'm gonna give it to Cody, though, slightly. I think the big thing for me is if Anthony Barr plays for Minnesota this week. I know he's been questionable again this week. He's the guy, he's got Nick Vigil in his lineup he's filling in for Anthony Barr basically. So Barr plays, obviously that affects Vigil. So we'll see what he does there. But overall, I think I'm just going to give it to Cody just in the hopes that he keeps it alive and keeps that division really interesting, honestly, because that's a good division they're in. So, but if he goes 0-4, then he kind of sets himself back a little too far, maybe.
Yeah, I'm going to say Cody gets off the snide, and what's really going to help is having TJ back. I think he'll have another good game from DJ Moore. He's having one of his better starts to his season. You could tell getting a start over Mike Evans shows you the type of season he's off to. But I think it'd be a really close game, but I do think Cody's heavy hitters like Rogers and Watt will put him over the top and keep him alive for now and take him off that march to having the longest losing streak.
I'm actually going to go Once a Janitor here, believe it or not. It's hard for me to say Cody goes 0-4, but I just really like Once a Janitor's matchups here. I think that Derek Carr is going to have a great game against the Chargers, and opposite of that, I think Austin Eckler is going to be forced to have a good game against the Raiders. And there's a couple other pieces here that I like. I like Demario Davis against Giants. Jordan Poyer could easily get a pick in that game or a turnover against Houston, even though it's questionable at the moment. But I'm going to go Once a Janitor in that. Let me save my pick. Otherwise, if I don't do it, it never happened because I will forget after tonight. Let's see. All right, it's officially in. Okay, so we got 3 more matchups, guys, for this episode. Our next one is the Spurs versus Slapdicks. Another elementary school rivalry here carried over into the LCC. These guys have literally known each other since I could be wrong, but I swear to God, I feel like it's kindergarten or before. I'm sure they'll correct me when they listen to this segment of the podcast. But guys, this is a team with the Spurs who looks great, but after that loss against Once a Janitor and falling second place in the division, this could hurt. If he loses this week and Once a Janitor wins, he goes down by a whole game and a half at that point, and then Slapdicks moves up to second place in the division. So not where he wants to be. But I think that, me personally, this game is not going to be as close as the records may kind of indicate here, of one team being 1-2 and the other 2-1. I really like the Spurs in this matchup. I really hate it for Austin. I think Myles Garrett, it was just such a whiff of a pick, man. I was really high on him the offseason, like most fantasy experts were too. So
Gaskins.
Gaskin, sorry, did I say Gaskin?
You said Garrett.
Oh, did I say Myles Garrett? Myles Gaskin. I think that it's just been real shitty for him. Once Javonte Williams is full speed ahead, I think that's going to help.
Yeah, and I think if you're the Spurs, and when you heard earlier that AJ Brown and Julio Jones could be out, you're just licking your chops, because you know what that means. It's going to be the Derrick Henry show. It's just the Jets, so it's not like even if they tried to, they could game plan against them. Like, they're going to get crushed no matter what.
He's going to have like an 80-point game.
Yeah, exactly. So you're probably just licking your chops, and the fact that Tom Brady's going back to New England. I mean, Tom's motivated no matter what. He doesn't let his emotions show. Unless it's like late, obviously late in a big game, he'll let them show. But Tom Brady is motivated to go back, and Godwin's gonna have a good matchup. I think we'll probably shift more of our focus towards Evans, but it doesn't really matter. It's pick your poison with that offense. But I could see Godwin easily getting back in the end zone this week, like he's done the first three. And it does hurt the Spurs a lot that he doesn't have Jesse Bates tonight. That's one of his big guys for sure, one of his best players. But I think he makes up for it. With just how good his offense is going to do compared to Slapdicks, who Myles Gaskin's, like you said, not a great matchup. And I think I'm just going to go slightly with the Spurs here. So maybe Slapdicks pulls the upset, but got to go Spurs here.
Same here. If I'm Slapdicks, I would think about taking Gaskin out and putting Javonte Williams in at this point. Like, go with the upside. Don't play it safe, because safe isn't going to win you this game. I promise you. You've got to go splash play type players, and Javonte Williams is going to provide that.
Yeah, and if I don't know, hopefully he's listening, but I did read today that Melvin Gordon is dealing with a rib injury. So very common for running backs, and sometimes sets them back at least a week or two to get right. So if Melvin Gordon was to just be on like a pitch count this week, or even just miss the game completely, that really boosts Javonte Williams' value.
I'm going to go on the opposite side of this, and I do like a couple of the Spurs matchup, including Brady potentially wrecking his former team and Derrick Henry going off against the Jets. But overall, I'll say that Slapdick scores more consistently. And especially with Cameron having J-Ron in his flex right now. Didn't quite work out last weekend. Donovan Wilson didn't play to give him even more snaps. He just didn't produce. So you would need to do something there to make me like his chances a little more. But right now I'll lean Slapdicks.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention this. They do have a history. They've played each other 5 times before, so this is the 6th matchup between the two. The Spurs leads the series 4-1. And the last time Slapdicks won was week 2 of last year, when he won 237, 162, but then Cameron won 219 and 177. So most games have been a blowout to whoever the victor was. And I'm not sure if it'll be a blowout this game, but I do think Cameron wins, and part of it's Derrick Henry, like you said, Mafale. So our next to last matchup that we've got is bringing Rexy back versus Give Me More. And I don't know, dude. I've been saying it. It's just a matter of time till Jameson's team gets their footing after starting on a rough go. But I just think that Give Me More should be able to win this, no questions asked.
Yeah, I think this will be the widest margin of victory of the week, honestly.
Agreed. This is going to be a big matchup for.
And so I'll go Give Me More. Not much to say about the matchup. He's got heavy hitters with good matchups. So yeah, Give Me More by a lot.
And Pat, I think we have one more. I don't think we did Levitard's Lobos.
We got one more. It's Levitard Lobos versus, I guess, kind of formerly Over the Pants hit job, and now 2 girls, 1 cup. And that's Eddie, by the way, rookie GM. This is another game. I really don't feel confident that this will be close. I think that Tar Lobos should get an easy win this week. I mean, just the defense is a lot better. The offense is even better. Matthew Stafford going against the Cardinals, it's like a dream shootout, kind of how the game was with Tampa. He's easily going to have another 300-plus game, but does he get that 350-plus mark is the big question. I think he'll be forced to, but whether the Cardinals defense will let him might be a different story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead, Jordan.
You know, it's really it's going to be tough for Lobos if he loses these players. I mean, I know Antonio Gibson didn't practice today, and neither did Julio Jones. So if he has to replace both those, it's going to be a completely different matchup. And for that reason, right now, I would go Over the Pants.
Yeah, that's a great point, Jordan. I mean, I'm gonna, that the Antonio Gibson one does scare me a little bit with his shin, and then Julio, because his only backup wide receiver right now plays tonight. So
yeah, if he misses Chark, he'll be skimming like the waters for anything Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. And then even just the running back situation, you're not huge on Michael Carter as your backup running back. So if he loses both those guys, that could be a huge hit. But and I would have to definitely lean Over the Pants. I gotta stop. I would lean 2 girls, 1 cup.
Yeah, I messed up his name too. I'm sorry.
But if those guys do play, I think it's definitely going to be easily him because I also think his defense is just better overall. I mean, Miles Jack, Taylor Rapp, Harrison Smith. Not that his like Eddie or Eddie as in 2 girls, 1 cups defense isn't good as well, but I just like Levitard's Lobos a little bit more. But this is a huge injury depending matchup, so. But I guess just to pick one and not just ride the fence, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna give 2 girls, 1 cup the upset so he can get his first win.
All right.
All right, there we go, guys. That's pretty much all we've got for you for this episode. It's going to be interesting between our game of the week, our other matchups, and honestly how we get into week 5. And I can't believe that, dude. We'll be over not over halfway, but we'll be over a month into the season after this week, and going into the next week. I mean, it's going to be for some teams, it's going to be an uphill climb to get in. For others, all they got to do is just ride the wave. We'll see how it shapes up here in week 4, but it's going to be another great week in the LCC and the NFL, and I'm looking forward to some college football matchups too this week. You guys got anything you want to add before we hop off?
No, good luck to everybody this week. It's flying by already, so let's just keep enjoying some football.
Yeah, I'm excited for tonight's game. I mean, 2 teams I'm not like huge on, but it should be an exciting matchup tonight. So
yeah, go Trevor.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, hopefully he doesn't have 100 turnovers again.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys in week 5. Best luck to everyone besides you, Jordan. Just kidding. We'll see you guys later.